So I think there are two types of stories. There are stories that we read and they clearly, there's the story. And then there are stories that hide within them future stories. And Nachmanides in this week's Torah portion teaches us a grand rule. Like, this is wild. He's explaining, right? So we meet Abraham and God says to him, go, lech lecha, or however we translate this. You're going to go into Canaan, to the land of Israel. And then we are told that Avram gets to Shechem. And at this point, Nachmanides feels the need to tell us, I'm going to teach you now a lesson about the following Torah portions relating to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he says, the sages alluded to this when they said, Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim. Right? Everything that happened to the forefathers, it's a sign for the future generations, for the children. And he says, this isn't just a saying. The sages were actually telling you, when you come and read the Torah portion of Lech Lecha, Vayera, Chayei Sarah, understand that you're reading two stories. You're reading the story that happens to Abraham, and you're reading the archetypical story of his actions as a sort of prophetic mode of telling of what's going to happen to future generations. What does this mean? For example, why does he come to Shechem? And he says, you shouldn't think to yourself like some people that, these stories of Bubba Mises, what do I need all these details of, they went here and he lifted up wells and he says, every detail is important for the prophetic detective. Or the divine detective, right? That's a prophet. If you want to understand what's going on, and he says also, look at the prophecies. Jeremiah, Ezekiel, they're all referring to what happened to the forefathers, because I have 3 signs, 3 children, and each of them encompass future stories. So for example, when Abraham goes down to Egypt, he says every single thing that happened to Abram, let's put aside the punishment, happens to the Israelites. Notice that even the fact that the Egyptians take his wife Sarah, what happens then to the Israelites in Egypt? Pharaoh decides to keep the girls alive. Everything. The fact that that they get God brings upon Pharaoh plagues and then their plagues. The same goes with the time of Joshua. The same when Abraham gets to Melchizedek, which is Jerusalem, and he sacrifices. It's a sort of sign that there's going to gives a truma. It's a sign of what's going to happen in the future with the Beit HaMikdash. So Nachmanides says, pay careful attention. Don't just read this, but try and cross-reference this as what goes on later on, because it has implications, right, if we understand him correctly, not only to what's happened thus far in Jewish history, but also what's going to happen. So, thoughts on the Torah portion of Lech Lecha on how to read a text and this grand rule that Nachmanides chooses to teach us in a given verse, and then he keeps coming back to it throughout the Torah portion. Very exciting stuff. Shabbat Shalom.